Now we arrived in the blockbuster part of our class, the chapter called Darwin Versus God. And we're going to look closely to Darwin's evolution theory, with all due respect. And these are other scientists that, with James Tour, do not believe in Darwin. You can also research their works and their publications. This is I didn't took it like the endless bibliography against Darwin that I found online, because the writings would be too small here. But anyway, it's easy, and it's already being denied many times by many scientists. Let's see why. Why was Darwin theories denied? The scientific method is a combination of information based on observation and experience. Darwin's hypothesis would have occurred 65 million years ago, which makes it out of the reach of observation and experience. That's why it's a theory, because it cannot be proven. When something is called the theory of the Big Bang or the theory of evolution, it's because it's not a law. It was never being proven, okay? The missing formula. Each scientific law corresponds to a mathematical equation. Theories that cannot be translated into working formulas are discarded as false. For 1.5 centuries, Darwinists have failed to produce a viable mathematical formula for their theories. So it should already been discarded, but it's still taught in schools and universities until today. The survival of the weakest should be called the theory, not the survival of the strongest, because the offsprings of most animals are born helpless and weak and totally dependent on others. How could we call this theory the survival of the strongest? And here we start to get into the scientific confutation. Darwin's theory requires that organisms are able to add genes to their own DNA in order to evolve into more complex organisms. But no species has the genetic mechanism for adding genes to itself. It's proven wrong. There is no mechanism inside our DNA who can add different DNAs according to any experience that we might have. So there is, inside our factory of DNA, there is no sector responsible for adding new genes in any animal. Not even in man, of course. What did Darwin prove? He proved that adaptation is real, so animals can adapt. Like these birds migrate to that other island, so they can change a little bit the beak in order to eat better in the new island. This is proven. This is a scientific, beautiful realization of Darwin. But it ends there. Because, for example, for evolution to happen the way it's described, they say that life originated in the sea, okay? So they have to prove that minerals got together, and they start getting together so intensely by some reason, then they became like a little being. They've been trying to prove this since Darwin came up with his ideas. And in 1956, Miller and Urey used like a high voltage discharge into minerals to try to prove that, but all they produce with amino acids. They're those little pills that we take to go to the gym, right? And so it was never proved until today that the gap between life and absence of life can be fulfilled in the way they say, from dead matter to living creatures. Not a proof. Another thing, fossil records demonstrate an absence of intermediary forms. All species suddenly appear in the fossil record totally formed. So there is no, for example, intermediate fish, from amoeba to the first fish. Let's say that amoeba I don't think amoeba produce fossils. I didn't check that. But for example, from the first fish to fish number 2, there is not a fossil in between them. And this leads to this. The missing link is still missing. There are known fossil records in between any species, and not even fossil records in between primates or monkeys and man. So what we have like thousands of fossils of this monkey, thousands of fossils of this monkey, thousands of this one, thousands of this one, thousands of this one, thousands and millions of this one, but not even one in between. So what is this that we see in the museum? Just a line of different monkeys with the man at the end. Nothing else. They say that Lucy is the missing link, but some other scientists say that they placed a monkey bone in the middle. Because why would we have only just one? If Lucy were real, we would have 10 Lucys, 1,000,000 Lucys, as we have like 1,000,000 chimpanzees and 1,000,000 orangutangos. You get the point? There is another thing, the law of entropy. The law of entropy is the second law of thermodynamics. It states something very important. It matches with the Vedas. Why do we go from golden age to iron age? We go from better place to decadent place, right? Gold towards iron. Because of the law of entropy that's ruling everything around us. And it explains very clear that nothing can evolve in the universe. Everything is decaying. So all the systems will die and decay. Well, now we get to a very funny point. The simultaneous evolution of both genders are not plausible and not statistically possible. According to Darwin, male and female of any given species mutate independently. So one mutate in one moment. It takes like 65 million years for us to get this one mutation. We didn't see a mutation in the last 5,000 years, did we? Like, there is no proof, evidence anywhere of a mutation in the last 5,000 years. So it doesn't happen in 5,000 years, does it? No. So they have to mutate independently. One, 5,000 years there in a forest, and another one, 10,000 years later in another forest. How can they meet? And not only with time. In order to continue to breed, the mutation would have to occur in the same time, in the same forest, right? In the same place, in the same identical way. So they have to mutate separately in the same direction and produce the same hormones, the same sexual dance in the forest in order to get together. This cannot statistically, mathematically happen. So, in case, let's suppose it would happen in the same forest, and these two new monkeys would have like a relationship. Who would the baby, the offspring, have relations with to perpetuate the species? You get the point? Darwin is mission impossible. If it was possible, Lady Amoeba would be our grandmother. Mataji means mother in elevated mother in Sanskrit, in Indian culture. Okay, and these would be the grandchildren. So the horse, the ants, the fishes, the beautiful babies, the birds, the insects, everything would be coming from amoebas, and not only animals. Mangoes, spinach, rice, pine trees, everything that is alive. We should invite the pine tree for dinner because she's our cousin. And we should have a picture of Lady Amoeba on the wall over the piano. Right?